also with the steel mace stuff that I do in quite a unique way. So that's why I think my chest has been able to maintain its size even though I haven't been doing those movements too often. And we're approaching the end of the workout, and yeah, I kind of enjoyed moving around with the mace like this. Um, it was a nice, I guess, variation. So looks like audio didn't get recorded at the playground, and so it's going to be a voiceover episode. Today, I brought my hydro bag and steel maces and kettlebell to the playground, but I didn't really end up using the kettlebell. Um, and a lot of the workout was lower body, and I also tried to use the hydro bag as much as possible. So for the first set of movements, I did this rotational lunge with the hydro slash aqua bag on my back. So each time I'm doing a lunge and rotating at the same time, the water inside the bag shifts a little. You'll notice that it's kind of like bouncing around and stuff. And uh, like I have to make sure that I don't tilt at all. Otherwise the water goes too much on one side and knocks me off my center of balance. And as a result, I have to be really precise with my movement. And also, all these little uh, sloshing around of the water inside the bag seems to get my core like activated. So, like, I'm not like consciously doing any, like, aside from how much my core normally stays tight during doing lunges, all these little slight activations that take place as a result of the water moving around is not really intentional. It almost kind of happens instinctively. But uh, as a result, by the end of the set, my like muscles feel a lot more tired than they usually do, even though the weight doesn't seem like a whole lot. Like I have about, I think, like 40 pounds in the bag, and 40 pounds isn't a whole lot for me on lunges, but because of how much it's moving around while I'm doing the set, it feels quite a bit different, and I have to be a lot more focused. Then I supersetted that with a steel mace movement, so I did single hand 360s alternated. It's also called 10 to 2s. It's also called 300s. The reason for picking the movement is it kind of mimics an alternating movement. So, like with the lunges, I was alternating sides, and I wanted to pick a movement that was alternating with the steel mace. One of the things that I noticed while doing this movement is that keeping my neck glued to my chest and looking down for the entirety of the move keeps me more in control of the trajectory of the steel mace. And that was a little pointer that I picked up from watching one of the Flowing Dutchman's videos when he was in this uh, gym in India. For the second set of movements, I did this rather long steel mace complex with a 25-pound steel mace. So started off with 5 360s, then moved into this underhand grip, and I do a lunge and a thruster at the same time. So again, just exploring different movement patterns with the steel mace, um, trying to put together the movements in different ways and getting the whole body involved. Um, and today I wanted to involve a lot of legs too, since yesterday's workout there wasn't a whole lot of leg element. I'm doing a lunge with the same leg as I'm doing the press, and so pretty much the same side on which the weight is on. I'm doing that for 5 each side after 5 360s, and then I move into 5 360s again, but instead of moving into the lunge thruster, I move into this shoulder rest squat. So I'm having the steel mace resting on my shoulder, and I'm doing squats. I'm staying on my toes. I'm not sure if it's super apparent in the video, but yeah, like when I'm doing squats, I'm making sure that I stay on my toes to get a deep stretch in the quads, and yeah, pretty much get a full knee bend, preserving knee mobility. Um, yeah, and again, it's an offset load, so there's 25 only on one side, and it's also like held in this weird grip. So the kind of recruitment that happens within the core to maintain the center of balance is different than what you feel with most conventional gym tools. And then I chose to end it off with overhead squats with the hydro bag slash aqua bag. Um, you'll notice that it's kind of like bouncing around, and I lost my balance there, and I think I lose my balance again. So pretty much that's kind of the point. Um, with a lot of squatting, there is this habit of just wanting to get down and out of the movement. But with the aqua bag, you have to be a lot more conscious of the movement and move slow enough and precisely enough to where the weight isn't tipping too much. Also, while the weight is shaking around, especially in the overhand stance, um, there's a lot of muscles in the shoulder that have to stay activated and stable in order to maintain that position. And so, personally, what I noticed is after a bunch of sets of that, like my shoulders were kind of burning. Um, then, one of the things about working out the playground is that I don't necessarily do a whole lot of heavy chest movements. Like occasionally I'll do like well, not occasionally, I do push-ups and then dips in the form of muscle ups sometimes. And so I wanted to do a move that focused a lot on the chest. So here I'm holding the outer part of the hydro bag, and it's a floor press essentially, but I'm keeping my knees closed and off, and so essentially feet off the floor. This keeps my abs activated for the duration of the exercise. I'm also kicking one leg out at the end of each rep, which forces the or which is essentially a lower ab and hip flexor exercise. Um, and I'm doing 10 on each leg, so essentially it ends up becoming 20 presses and 10 each leg with the ab exercise. And I'm holding the bag at the edge or at the outer ends of the bag in this open hand position. And this wasn't something that I expected to happen, but my forearms and finger muscles started really getting tired by the end of it. Like it was this kind of weird soreness that I really haven't felt before, and it makes me suspect that maybe doing more of these will help with grip strength, and that wasn't something that uh, I expected going into the movement. And I also have to be really even with the way I press. Any slight tilt of the bag forces all the water to go on one side, which knocks me completely off balance. That didn't happen this set, but when I was first doing it and I was like kind of experimenting with it, that did happen, and it happens quite fast when uh, you kind of tip it over. After 10 on each side, I did 10 flutter kicks while holding the bag in like the outstretched position. Um, each flutter kick kind of causes the water to move just a little, which forces like the shoulder and chest to stay activated. And then I ended up doing, I think it was 12 push-ups. So I was aiming for anywhere between 10 to 15 push-ups after this movement, just to kind of keep the burn going. Like I said earlier, it feels like outside from sometimes cable chest presses and push-ups and some dips sometimes, I don't really get to do too much chest. Although I do think the chest gets recruited quite a bit with the shoulder presses and stuff that I do. Um, and also with the steel mace stuff that I do in quite a unique way. So that's why I think my chest has been able to maintain its size even though I haven't been doing those movements too often. In any case, for the final movement of the tricep, I did this combination curl to row. So the weight in the bag is not heavy enough to tax me for a row, but the idea kind of was I wanted my pull muscles, so and in this case primarily the biceps, to stay engaged for a long time. And like so the biceps are involved during rows and it's not only the back, and the biceps are definitely involved in the curls. And you can notice that the bag's kind of like moving around. So like if I'm not even in the way I bring the bag down, like the water shifts and I have to be really precise and accurate with the way I'm moving the bag. And like I said before, there's only like 40 pounds in the bag. So it's not like a super heavy weight, but because of the overall duration and all these little, I don't know, micro contractions or micro activations that take place within the biceps while the water is moving around, like even though the weight's not that heavy, the kind of tiredness or kind of fatigue that the muscle feels at the end of the set is really quite unique. So I'm really quite interested as to see what uh, this kind of training does for me in the long term. This is only my second session with it, and so like for example, I started my steel mace training at around episode 100, and now it's been like a long time since I've started it, and I like my physique, it feels like has changed quite a bit for the better, and it makes me wonder what the hydro bag will do. So I ended up the workout with like a steel mace freestyle session. So usually I do kettlebell juggling freestyle to end, but today the weather was kind of chilly, and with every missed catch in kettlebell juggling, it seems like, especially when the weather is cooler, the kind of, I guess, pain uh, and potential for, I guess, damage on the fingers, I think, is quite a bit higher. And so I wanted to try out something different. I've been following quite a few steel mace influencers, and especially the Flowing Dutchman, and they seem to have this like really effortless way of moving with the steel mace and combining different movements from hand to hand. And it's not just the 360s, they move into like They move their whole body, like front and back, and change hands and go front, reverse, and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of move that way and just flow with the weight and see what that felt like. And kind of experimenting with different forms of movement, and like sometimes, as you can see, it wouldn't necessarily play out the way I thought it would, but you don't know how things are going to feel till you try them. And um, once you make the mistake, you're able to retry, and account for why you made the mistake. And then uh, I guess that's just how learning works. You have to try, make a mistake, uh, and especially with weight training, with the steel mace, you definitely have to be careful and do it with a light enough weight that you can manage, because the what happens if you're playing around with weights, especially if it's too heavy, is you end up getting injured. So I used my 15-pound steel mace, which at this time I'm pretty comfortable with. And so, it didn't feel like I was putting myself at risk for injury by playing around or anything at this point. I'm pretty comfortable with the weight, and I feel quite confident that my body can handle any missteps, if I make a mistake with the mace. But yeah, just switching around between movements, moving 360, side drop, alternate 10 to 2s, alternate 10 to 2s with one hand, moving into multiple 360s with one hand, dropping when I felt like it was, what I wanted to drop, and stuff like that. In any case, yeah, I think we're approaching the end of the workout, and yeah, I kind of enjoyed moving around with the mace like this. Um, it was a nice, I guess, variation from usually doing the juggling. And maybe, come winter time when it is going to be a lot colder outside, I won't be able to juggle as often as I would like to. And so maybe I can move into exploring steel mace flow and stuff like that as um, a different kind of skill to pick up during the winter time, when I won't be able to juggle as often. However, I do want to keep my juggling skills fresh, or keep building on it even when it's cold outside. So I will have to ponder upon how I can do that. And I'm also planning on working out outdoors during winter time. And actually, over the past couple of days, I've been researching about it. In any case, yeah, uh, hopefully all of that plays out. Um, my Today was a good workout. Um, yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. See you all tomorrow.